back.
We are.
Woo!
Susie's got the sniffles.
I do have the sniffs. And I've got my hot drink in my cat cup. This is one of my favorite mugs ever that my sister got me from, I think it was Chinatown in Philly.
Okay.
Or someplace like that. And it is still one of my favorite cups of all time. And I'm afraid to use it because it has to be hand washed. And because I know that my husband will inevitably put it in the dishwasher and somehow crack it. And I can't complain because he's doing the dishes and he's cleaning and all that fun stuff. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, I love you, sweetheart, but could you be a little less bull in a china shoppy?
And just hear me out here. Just hear me out.
I just hand wash it.
You could wash your cup when you're done with it yourself.
That's what I do. And usually what I do is I'll put my cups in the sink because I'm going to wash them. You know, maybe not now, maybe not an hour, but you know,
eventually
at some point I'm going to wash it. And during that day, I'm going to wash it. And inevitably he will come in like literally seconds. It's like he hears the cup hit the bottom of the sink and it's just like swoop and immediately puts them into the dishwasher, and then I forget about it because it's out of sight, out of mind. And then I'm like, where did my coffee mug go? And I hear the dishwasher running and I'm like, yes. And yeah, so I have to be a little quicker on the draw and just do it.
Yeah. Or, you know, communicate with him and like
I've tried that.
Ask him not to do that. Like
I have.
Maybe even
he learned with the blue mug because my blue glass mug, I was just like, and he was just like, why are you getting so upset about this? I'm like, it took me 20 years to track a replacement down. That's why.
Oh God, that's too funny.
And this is the replacement mug, so please don't put it in the dishwasher. He
That's
also
so
did
funny.
put my I have a sterling I have a silver spoon that a friend of mine gifted me, and it says witch's brew on it. So you can't even mistake it for like any other spoons. It is sterling silver plated with very ornate handle and witch's brew stamped into the spoon part. And that has ended up in the dishwasher a couple of times. Yeah. So I literally just rinse it out now and put it like off to the side, hidden away from the sink. So that way it can't even be mistaken for any other spoon. And he's just like, what's the difference? I'm like, you never put silverware into the dishwasher.
So, I mean, it's funny because it's not me.
Yeah, it's hilarious, and it is me. So, I mean, I can't even, it's like it's a great story in retrospect, but when it's happening, I'm a lemon grab from Adventure Time. Unacceptable!
It's a cute cup though.
Uh-huh. And it's got this little like gold stuff going on. So that's another reason it can't go in the dishwasher, is because that will tarnish a lot. And if not, just get washed off completely. So yeah. Yeah, I have more than a few things that are hand wash only. My one mug, I learned the hard way that pretty much I just shouldn't use it. It's a really cool mug. It's matte black on the outside, and then inside is like a shiny purple glaze, and it's got spikes all over it. And I love that mug too.
Right.
That cannot go in the dishwasher at all. Nor should it really be hand washed. Honestly, it should just not be used. It should just be looked at and appreciated. It's a work of art because those little spikes hurt. It's not functional.
Not as much fun as I thought it would be.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is really great in theory, but it's very posturepedic on my hands. Yeah, it's like it's like one of those like bed of nail things on a mug.
Cool.
Yeah, it's like an inside out Iron Maiden in a coffee mug. And while I love it dearly, I like to put my hand through the handle and hold on to the mug. Or
because they're meant to be used.
Well, yes, and also the handle is just like way too big, so every time I hold it, it's like I got these tiny little doll hands, and the mug just kind of like droops and then spills everywhere, and I'm like, well, that's ridiculous. So, and then when I hold it like that, it ends up poking me all over here and scratching my hands all up. So honestly, it's kind of like a death mug, really. I shouldn't use it.
We need a photograph of the death mug.
I do have a photograph on my Facebook page. There is a profile picture of me holding it like this, and I'm like toasting, and it is right there. And it's before a couple of the spikes got broken off in the dishwasher, and while I was hand washing it, and while it was being put away.
And you could also post it so people don't have to search through your
I guess
millions upon
I
millions
would
of
have to
profile
find it
pictures.
again. I would
Yeah,
also,
exactly.
so there's that. Yeah, picture if there was like a Cenobite in a coffee mug form, that would be the
That
mug.
would be the mug.
That would be the mug.
Nice.
Yeah, it definitely is not made for like functional use, unless maybe as a pencil holder, I guess.
Paintbrushes.
Paintbrushes would work too. Like it would go well for that. Like anything that's not really functional.
Well, that's,
Yeah,
functional, just not holding liquid and such like.
yeah. I mean, I do like to, if I'm feeling frisky, I take it down and yeah, or if I'm feeling masochistic, I guess I take it down and drink my coffee from it in the morning, and then I'm just like, Klingon day. Today's a good day to die. I got my Klingon mug, got my attitude going.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah. So we were going to talk about bird adventures before we started talking about coffee mugs.
We were gonna talk about, well, because I've been having like,
Fran.
yeah, I have Frong. He's my little friend. There's a sparrow nesting above my back door. And he's been there for over a month now, and I bought him a house and everything. And named him, and he comes out and he hangs out and we make eye contact and I talk to him, and I can reach up towards him now without him flying away. So I'm going to tame him. He's going to become really my friend.
So you're his sugar mama, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
You bought him a house.
I did. I bought him a house. I feed him.
Give him little sweaters.
Yeah. Eventually.
Eventually, he's gonna have a scarf.
Eventually, he's going to have a scarf and a little crown. But besides him, I have had a cardinal visiting and this big ass blue jay. Like, I swear this thing's the size of a fucking cat. Like, it's huge. um,
We had robins all over the yard today.
mm-hmm,
Like an entire flock of them out in the yard. And then,
mm-hmm.
of course, the cat from my neighbors across the street. So I went out, and the cat will let me pet it, and it will follow me all over the place if I'm over by his house.
Mm-hmm.
The second that he's in my yard and I go out to say hi, he's like, "Oh gosh, you caught me," and he like runs away. And I'm like, "Dude,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
same person, different location. Let me pet you.
Just let me love you.
Pet you and adopt you." Although it is my neighbor's cat, so but they leave their cats running wild. So I'm just like, whatevs.
Yeah.
I don't care. I know that cats have multiple homes. I'm cool with that. I'm okay with sharing.
I mean, as long as they have homes,
Yeah, he's got a home to go to.
Okay.
He's got the big old paunch.
Yeah.
Paunch belly. That's how I know he's definitely somebody's cat.
But it's interesting. Like, all three of those birds are psychopomps and harbingers of stuff. So
They are.
they are. And it's weird. Like, cardinals and blue jays both mate for life and are considered like symbols of fidelity and it loyalty and friendship. It's not just like romantic stuff. They're symbols of friendship as well.
You're such a Disney film. You walk out and the birds sing and like make you dresses to go to the ball.
I wish.
You're like, I'm gonna train him to do that now.
No, I'm gonna train them to clean my house.
No, you need mice for that. The mice are the cleaning crew. The mice and rats.
There's some of those outside.
And they're adorable. Field
They
mice?
are.
Oh my god, they're so
They're
cute.
so cute. Okay, you think field mice are cute? Dormice. Oh, I saw a live one when I was like in person, like close up.
In person.
Oof, they're just so cute. Like, you just want to cuddle them. They're
Rodents?
not so big on being cuddled though.
No,
He ran
wild
away.
rodents don't like being cuddled. Much as we might want to go and like Snow White them to death.
I mean, they're only wild until they're not.
Cinderella.
Yeah,
I want to be a Disney film. Wow.
it's interesting. Like, why would all three of these like bird like just decide to come and hang out?
I have purple finches that hang out in the garden. They made their nest out there now in my archway. And then first they had their first nest in the gazebo. And
Mm-hmm.
then after the babies hatched and flew away, then I told my husband, okay, now you can go out and knock it down. Because he was like ready to knock it down when there was eggs in it. And I'm like, no.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no, we're not doing that.
Mm.
So he accidentally knocked the one robin's nest down. And they made another one on the back of the garage next to the air conditioner that he had installed for Mr. Pants when it was his bachelor pad.
Mm.
And so they had a nest there, and then a nest in the hedge, and a nest on the other side of the garage in the downspout. And Ty knocked the one down by accident, and then he was trimming the neighbor's hedge and came about that close to hitting that nest. And I was like, those robins hate you now.
Yeah,
I was like,
they're not coming
literally
back.
all three places that they have made their nest, you have invaded it. And he's just like, what do you want? And I was like, I think they just want to be left alone, and maybe you should respect that.
Just let them live. Let them
Yeah,
raise their children in peace.
yeah, he's just like,
Help
"Arr."
them. Send them. Bring them food. You know.
Yeah, it's like if you could chew some worms up and then regurgitate them, they would really be appreciative.
Yeah, or buy mealworms at the
Yeah,
pet store.
that
Like,
too.
that's
But
helpful.
we've got the little catbirds. There we go. We've got a family of catbirds that hangs around. We've got the purple finches. We've got a house wren that is freaking adorable and ballsy as hell. And it's like
Mm.
this big.
Mm.
And it had a house in our one bush out in back, and the house like rotted away. And so we eventually like took it down, and it came back like the next year and was like, like looking at the spot where the house used to be, like, what the hell, man? And it would come and like yell at us. And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, it was falling apart. We didn't think you were using it. Besides, there's gourds. I put brand new gourds out there for you under the overhang in the garden. Perfect location. So it finally did go make a nest out there, but I bought a new house for it. And
And
I
I'm
put
a
it up in
Disney
the old
film.
spot. And now it was like checking it out, and I was sitting up on the back porch upstairs, and it came up, and I was like talking to my dad about it, and I was like, I just bought this new house. It's got the size for the wren, so nothing else can get in it, and it's cedar, and it's like cedar and teak. I was like, so it's like some swanky birdhouse thing going on. And my dad's like, oh, you should like that. And then the little house wren like lands on the railing next to me. Like I've got my feet up on the chair, and there's the house wren,
Mm.
and it jumps onto the chair arm right next to my feet, practically on my lap, looks at me, sings at me, hops up and hangs out for a little bit under the overhang in the porch, and just
Aw,
sits there singing. And I'm like, you're welcome. And then it
that's
flew
so
away.
cute.
Like the second I said, you're welcome, it flew away and went down to the house.
That's so sweet.
So I was like, oh. And now it hangs around
Mm.
the back porch and sings at me. And if it sees me like walking around in the kitchen, it'll come over and like tap on the window.
Aw.
I'm like, you're so cute.
But I'm a Disney film. Got the bird tapping on the window for your attention,
Well, the
hanging
carnival,
out in your lap. Like,
the,
mine
the
get close,
the
but they don't.
stupid doves land on me. I'll be like out in the garden, like weeding and stuff, and all of a sudden they come like flying over. And the one, literally, I felt its little claw feet going onto my shoulder, and I was like, "What the hell?" I like jumped up, and it was like, "Oh crap!" And I'm weeding the garden, man.
My birds, like my birds, they don't do that because of the dogs. But if I'm outside without the dogs, like I like to go out after AJ goes to school, after he gets on the bus and stuff, and just sit and have my coffee when it's warm enough. Even in the wintertime, when it's warm enough, I'll wrap up and go out there and watch them. And they come really close, but they're not that bold. But I don't have bird feeders or anything out either.
Our neighbor across the street does. We
Yeah.
used to, but the squirrels kept getting to it.
I remember the squirrel battle.
Yeah, I've lost that squirrel battle. Now the damn squirrels come up to me and they're like, "Oh hey, what's up?"
I know. I remember when I was at your house, the one was like, "Hey," laying on his back, like, "What are you doing?"
The one came like right up on the back porch, and
Mm-hmm.
looked at me through the freaking back door. I'm sitting there like holding my coffee, watching him. Comes hopping up the stairs, comes jumping up onto the new little railing things that we put in, and then goes into my pawpaw tree pot that I've planted pawpaw seeds in, and sits there just looking at me, holding on to an acorn, just looking. And I'm like, don't you do it. I was like, don't you dare do it. And it's like, and immediately goes and starts digging and buries that damn thing in my pawpaws. Digs up all my pawpaw seeds and plants that stupid acorn.
You could have walked outside and stopped him at any time.
I did. I had to struggle with the lock for a minute because I was so angry. I'm literally sitting there going, you, and it's like,
Like in Christmas Story, the Bumpus dogs.
it was literally like that. Like struggling because our back door, so it's an old door. It's one of the it's the original door to the house. So it's got the glass knob on the inside and the brass knob on the outside, and then it's got a deadbolt. And if deadbolt's locked and you're trying to pull on the door, it then kind of jams a little bit, so the deadbolt gets stuck. So you have to push it back in, turn the deadbolt, and then you have to turn the knob to the left to get it to open. Otherwise, it just keeps turning if you turn it to the right.
You couldn't figure out the magic code to
I
get the
was
door open.
so mad that it was digging up my plants that I was just like, ah! I almost went right through the window. I was just like, I'm done. I'm going through the window. If I can't get out there, I'm going through the window. We're done with this. Stupid freaking squirrels. I'm just so done with them.
So I'm wondering if anyone else has any good animal stories they want to share with us. It might be fun. You got any little wild pets that follow you around, or other people's pets that come visit you, or anything like that? Tell us about
adopted by the neighborhood
it.
wildlife.
It's witchcraft, I tell you.
Well, the funniest thing is, so our neighbors have a dog that is a mix of a Labrador and I think a Basset Hound. So yeah, think of the logistics there. It's shaped like a Basset Hound. So it's got that like little tiny Ottoman body. It's all black except for like a little white patch right here. So it's got the coloring of a Labrador and the head of a Labrador and the paws of a Labrador on a Basset Hound body.
What about the legs? Are the legs short or long?
Little tiny stumpy legs. And it kind of runs like weird sideways when it's running around. So yeah, it's interesting. And this dog loves my husband.
Yeah.
The devil, he appears. He just walked in. So yeah, every time my husband's out, that dog comes running up to the fence and is just sitting there like doing the big Basset Hound bark. And my husband goes walking up to the fence. He's like, what? And she's like, and he has to go over and pet her. And she just sits there and just stares adoringly at him. So if I want to get
chosen.
Yes, she chose him. And he's just like, what do you want? And she's like,
just love me.
Immediately, like, just loves the hell out of him. And
so sweet.
There he is.
Mm-hmm.
Hold his butt. You're coming on the show one day.
Oh, we should interview him. That would be awesome.
I told him.
Like, what's it like to be married to a crazy writer?
He'll tell
like,
you.
How disturbing is it when she wakes up in the middle of the night and goes in her notebook? Can I interview him one day? Yeah. Will he do it?
I don't know.
I'll present my questions ahead of time.
Let's see if we
promise to behave.
Like, let's see if we can get him on like now. But yeah, he'll probably just like roll his eyes and be like, that's pretty much what he does. He's like Sideshow Bob stepping on rakes.
Oh, he's always been really pleasant when I've talked to him and when I've been at the house and stuff.
The second you put him intentionally on camera, he's like a blur. He just runs away. He's like a 4-year-old.
Well, if he doesn't want to do it, we won't make him do it.
I think he might consider it. I'll have to
Okay.
work on him a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, totally sidetracked myself.
Yeah, sorry, we went off the rails there.
We did
A little bit.
Oh yeah, the dog and my husband.
Yeah.
So yeah,
the
this
dog.
dog like and Mr. Pants too. Like I told him already. I was like, the whole reason I married you is because Mr. Pants picked you out. And he's like, what do you mean he picked me out? And I was like, I had a bunch of guy friends. I had more than a bunch of boyfriends, and you were the one he picked. And after I started dating you, he would not let another guy in the apartment.
Oh, that's sweet.
It was
Good
wild.
big boy.
I mean, he's this gentle giant, and my friend came over the one day because we were all going to go out from work to go drinking, and my
Full
friend
on panther on him, huh?
huh?
Put full on panther on him.
Mr. Pants was laying in my papasan chair in my living room, and I had this long, long hallway going into the living room of my apartment. And my friend came in the front door, and I was like, you know what? I'll just be a second. And I just had to like grab something and drop my stuff off. And so I came in, and Mr. Pants was like sleeping on the chair. And he looked up and was all like, oh, hey, how's it going? And immediately starts, pretending like he's back asleep again. My friend comes in and starts talking to me down the hallway. And Mr. Pants, who has met him before and never had a problem with him, immediately looks up and looks towards the door, jumps out of the chair and goes charging down the hallway and leaps onto my friend's chest and like kicks him. Just like
I was thinking of Smokey doing that and the look of horror that would be on someone's face, and I am dying.
it was the look on my friend's face was just like, oh shit, this cat's gonna attack me. And Mr. Pants didn't put his claws out, but he let it be known that my friend was
but he weighed like 30 pounds
and he weighed 30 pounds. So you got this 30-pound 3-foot long cat coming at you, not declawed, and all of a sudden he is just running up you and kicking you in the chest.
I hate declawing. Like,
yeah, I'm not a fan.
Like, why would you do that? That's like that's like expecting you to live with the tips of your fingers cut off, and then they have a whole bunch of problems walking. They have problems with arthritis. They're walking on their
yeah,
I hate it.
I think it's illegal in Pennsylvania now.
I would hope that I really want it to be.
New Jersey.
I really want it to be illegal everywhere.
Yeah,
I really do. I hated it with the shelter cats. They were so. Yeah. There's such a difference between them and the cats that are not declawed, especially health-wise.
Yeah.
Not well, good for them.
Mr. Pants, he had some claws on him. I mean, he had huge paws to begin with, like literally this big.
But I mean, you can trim their nails, and if you can't handle having a cat.
It wasn't even so much that. Like he had my couch that he could claw up. Like that was okay. Because it was a cheap couch. And I was like, fine, go ahead and claw the side that's over by your litter box. That's your spot. So that was like the only thing. If he wanted to get our attention, he would go in the middle of the carpet and just put his claws out, just enough to make that little pick noise and look at us. And then just be like,
yeah, what you gonna do?
Yeah, like what you can do. I got my claws in the carpet. But yeah, for the most part, like if he jumped up on something and his claw like got caught, he'd stop and then just sit there with his paw out, like waiting
until you come and get him. Yeah,
just like look at me like, and I'm like, come here.
Yeah, Smokey's pretty good about that too. It's just, I don't know. I'm just of the opinion like animals have certain characteristics and certain behaviors, and if you can't handle that, you shouldn't have one. And I know that's like gonna piss people off, but I don't care.
It's a cat. They're going to sharpen their claws regardless.
They're going to, and it's exercise for their shoulders, for their back muscles.
It's marking too.
Yes, and it has a lot of like behavioral things that they have evolved, and then it's also exercise.
Yeah, my one aunt had cats that were declawed in the front, and so they claw everything up with their back legs. They would just sit there and kick. And she was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. They're clawing everything up with their back legs. I was like, now it's just spite.
Yeah.
There's
See,
spite
that
clawing.
Smokey, he won't scratch you. Like,
Yeah.
we play with him, and Bill plays with them. Like, Smokey likes it when he goes on his belly or goes on his back, and you put your hand like on his head and your arm on his belly, and you go, and he wraps his legs around you,
Yep.
and he
The murder
kicks you
bunny.
like the bunny kicks.
Yep.
He doesn't put his claws out, and he'll like put his mouth on you, like he'll put his teeth on you, but he doesn't bite you.
Yep.
And he just loves that, and you can sit and shake him, and he's happy, but he never
Yeah.
intentionally hurts anyone. If
Mr.
they're
Pants,
loved, they don't.
if Mr. Pants hurt me, like the one time, um, when I lived in Philly, I had a balcony, and he used to jump to the roof of the kitchen of the bar next door from my
Ah,
balcony, and that's a 15-foot drop,
yeah,
and he would just right over my
yeah.
wall and just go hang out. And as soon as I heard people like down in the bistro area going, "Is that a cat?" and I'm thinking, okay, like he's on my balcony, so yeah, it's a cat. And then I look outside and he's not there, and I'm like, so I'm like looking outside, I'm like, Monkey, because his nickname was Monkey. And I look around, he's not in the yard, he's not on the balcony. I'm like, crap, where is he? And I see people like looking up at the roof of the place, and I'm like, oh no. And I like lean over the wall and look, and I'm like, Mr. Pants. And he looks at me like, oh hey.
Hi.
And I'm like, get back over here. And everybody's like, is that your cat? And I'm like, that's my cat, yes. And so I'd go and get like his little greenies treats and shake the bag. And he would literally just do a standing jump right back over to the balcony.
That would terrify me.
Well, the last time I let him do it, because he had gained weight, the last time I let him do it, he missed. And like missed it just by about an inch or so. And grabbed onto the brickwork of the wall and then was hanging there, and he started to slide, and I was like, oh no, and didn't even think about it, just dropped the treat bag and reached out and grabbed him.
Was
And
he coming back to you or going
yeah,
over?
he was coming back, and he missed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just reached out and grabbed him without even thinking about it,
Of
and
course.
he grabbed onto me without thinking about it
Of
and
course.
grabbed on with his claws. So I got some puncture wounds from that one.
That-
But he,
I don't
like,
consider
I
that
just like
hurting you
grabbed him.
because,
I just grabbed him up, and I was like hugging him, and I'm
yeah.
like, oh my god, you crazy, crazy cat, you could have gotten so hurt. And because it was a 15-foot drop diagonal to the roof, but it was probably a good 20 feet to the patio floor, and it was all rock. And I was so scared, and I was like hugging him. I'm like running blood down my arms at that point. And he's looking at me like, I am so sorry. And he starts like sniffing at my arms and everything. And he's like, nuzzling me. And I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. I was like, come on, let's go back inside. I checked him over, made sure he was okay. And then I'm like, I gotta get cleaned up. So, and
Oops.
Neosporin, Neosporin everywhere. And the next day at work, because it was warm out, so I had short sleeves. Next day at work, everybody's like, what happened to your arms? I'm like, my cat missed. Like, what are you talking about?
What?
Like, he's trying to jump onto the balcony and he missed, and I didn't think about it, and I just grabbed him. And he grabbed me because he didn't want to fall either. But yeah, that in retrospect, that hurt.
Yeah.
That was painful. But that's the only time that he like scratched me ever in
Mm-hmm.
the 13 years that I had him. So yeah, he, for the most part, he'd hiss first before he went after anybody, unless it was people that he didn't like. My one ex-boyfriend, the one that ditched me in the middle of our date on Valentine's Day, in fact, we were sitting on the couch and he went to go put his arm around me, and Mr. Pants was on the other side of me, and Mr. Pants attacked his hand and bit him. And I was like, what did you do to my cat?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, your cat's crazy. And, I'd go over to the guy's house too, and his dog wouldn't let him near me. Like, his own dog would growl at him as soon as he tried to sit next to me. And that's happened more than once with guys that I've dated that have had dogs
Yeah.
and cats and stuff, where they would come over and sit next to me and then wouldn't let him near me. And they would just growl. And they're like, "What's your problem?" You know, and they'd freak out. And the dogs are like, "Nope, you're not getting near her." The one dog laid with me in bed and wouldn't let him in the bed. Kept kicking him off the bed.
Oh, wow.
We had a chaperone.
The sun is like directly right in my
It's very dramatic.
eyepiece.
It's very dramatic.
It's that's good because I can't see shit.
Oh, I'm hopped up on chocolate.
I can tell you're hopped up on something.
Chocolate.
Yeah.
I had hot cocoa in there.
I've been having my peach green tea. I love this stuff.
It's good stuff.
It is.
So
yeah.
you're gonna walk outside and be Snow White / Cinderella. I'm
/ Wednesday Addams. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm apparently just gonna be like the Lord of Misrule or something.
Yeah.
Come to me, my babies.
Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna go out and it is time for me to put out food for them before nighttime. So
The wild animals. You're gonna put food out for the wild animals.
they're only wild until they're not.
Pretty sure they stick around, get fed, and continue to be wild.
I'm fine with that. It's wintertime. Food's hard to find.
It is true. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that we've got robins hanging out. That's like they usually don't show up unless it's going to be spring-like. So they're looking very confused, and I love that like indignant look they give you as they're hopping through the yard, and they're like, it's like, I'm standing in here just enjoying my cocoa. What are you doing?
Yeah.
It's like, you're digging up my yard. That's what you're doing. Ripping up my moss. Freaking moss I planted. I finally got it growing. Stupid things are digging it up.
Oh man.
Yeah, I was like,
I'd be upset.
Yeah, I planted a lot of moss. It's going to look like a hag's house soon.
I would love that. That's going to be happening in my future.
Well, you know, the witch house is still for sale.
Yes, honey, I know.
Just saying.
I know.
And I'm pretty sure all that pottery and stuff that's on the front porch is glued there. It hasn't disappeared in all the years that they've lived there. And it's still there. So I'm pretty sure it's not going anywhere.
That could be useful.
It's very cute. They made like little teapots and stuff and goblets and everything, and it's all out on the porch. Like on the railings.
To have like drainage, like you could put like little herbs and stuff in it.
I don't know.
That would be cute, like a little garden.
Yeah,
Just...
I mean they're tiny, so I don't know if you'd want to put herbs in that unless you had like fairy time. Yeah, you'd need something really small that would go in there. Otherwise, it would just die.
Or little succulents or something.
If even, I mean, these are tiny. Like they're made for like they're like the size of a Japanese tea set, like the little Japanese tea sets. They're about that size, but they're really well made. They're super cute. So, yeah, I don't know if they made it and then something happened that it just wasn't useful and they could glue it back together but not use it. So they just made decoration out of it. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah. There's a story there somewhere.
There is, yeah. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to find out the story.
I'm kind of curious if their wind chimes are staying, because those are some awesome wind chimes. They got stars and moons all over them, and the bells are moons, like big giant crescent moons, and the clackers are the stars.
Nice.
It's very cool. So I'm like, Like, hey, how much you want for the stars and moons wind chimes?
Yeah.
I want those, not your house.
Yeah.
I've already got a house. I don't need another one. I would like your chimes, though.
Yeah.
And all of your pottery. All of your outdoor pottery, please. But, oh, and also, who's got blue fingers and has been knitting your project? This girl.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, the yarn. So the captain yarn that you picked out is, funnily enough, and I don't know if it's because I don't remember my fingers being blue the last skein that I used of this, but this one is making my fingers blue. So I was like
Interesting.
sitting there knitting with it last night while I was watching The Dark, and all of a sudden I'm like looking at my fingers and I'm thinking like, wow, this is some really piss poor lighting. Like my fingers, like, am I not oxygenating or something? So, now that I got this snazzy watch, I checked my I checked my oxygen levels
Oh
just to
my
make
goodness.
sure. Because I'm like, wow, like my nails are blue, my fingers are blue, like, and then I'm like, oh, it's a strange shade of blue. It's not your typical, hey, you've got no oxygen getting to your extremities blue.
Yeah, not that
It,
purple blue.
yeah, it's more of a Captain Yarn color blue.
It's pretty.
It's very pretty. I love working with it, and it's been keeping me warm. So there's that
Good.
too. And hold on, I will show you. As my grandfather was always so fond of saying, I show you.
Ooh,
I have gotten pretty
nice.
far.
Yes. Yes, nice, nice.
So for those not in the know,
Mhm.
Candy's my social media manager slash publicist slash doing all the things. And in exchange for hooking me up with rocks from all over the world and taking care of my social media platforms and being my alpha reader,
And
uh,
editing.
and occasional editing, yeah, I
She
make
makes me stuff.
I make stuff. I do in trade. Um, so yeah. Oh, and
I mean, she does pay me money too. It's not like
yeah, it's not like it's
she
all
doesn't, it's not like slave work. And
no.
yeah, but
I mean, the amount of money I would charge for a shawl like that, it's definitely a good trade.
yeah, I'm definitely getting the better of it.
I didn't want to say that, but
I mean, you know,
so when you coming on the show, honey? How about now? You want to do now? Come on, do now. Do it. I double dog dare you. Candy wants to interview you. Is
I'll be nice. I'm not going to be like weird. I'm going to ask normal questions.
that weird? Is that too weird? Love you too.
Keep working on it.
He's thinking about it.
Good. He's considering.
He's considering. I can sense it.
As can I.
Now if I could just get that same pause when I say, hey, let's get a robot cat. Totally want a robot cat.
I know you want a robot cat.
Hey, if I can't have a real one, I want a robot cat. I prefer a real one, obviously, but which is why I'm trying to lure in all the neighborhood cats to be my friends. Like, come here, you can stick around my backyard. I'll feed you. Can't come in the house, but I'll feed you. You can sit on the back porch. I'll make little cat houses for you.
Sugar mama.
Up in the Poconos growing up, we had cats that would just adopt us. And at one point, we had like 10 cats because our one cat had kittens. And we just had so many cats, and I loved it. But it's like every time a cat would leave, because it was like a lot of boy cats and stuff. So we'd get the girls spayed. The boy cats, they would just come and go as they pleased, but we always got them all rabies shots and stuff. And trying to get all the stupid cats into a carrier so we could get them to the rabies clinic was ridiculous. We'd just be like, pew, all into the carrier, and then just close it up and then get them in the car as fast as possible. And then they'd be like, wow, wow.
Yeah, that screaming they do.
Oh, it's awful. And they'd get car sick all over the place. It's like, I know, this is as bad for me as it is for you. But yeah, we would always get them rabies shots every year, or every 5 years, like whatever they were offering. And then, one would leave and another one would take its place. So there was always cats. So my parents made like little cat shelters for them all over the porch and put out food.
Nice.
And then in the wintertime, when like their water would freeze and stuff like that, we'd give them like warm water so it wouldn't freeze too fast. And they'd come over and they'd take their drinks. And then, later on in the day, we'd toss out the ice cube and refill. So yeah, we had it down to a science. And then half the time they just hid in the carport. They found a way into the carport and they just live in there all winter. Come out and eat, go back into the carport. Pretty sure they had like a nest in the tires that my dad had stacked up in there.
Whatever works.
Yeah. So we'd set up like little Tupperware containers and stuff with blankets and all that fun stuff in there for them, and they loved it, and the raccoons loved it too, as did the possums.
It's really a public service.
Yeah, my poor cat Mittens, she would sit up on the railing and my mom would put like a handful of food up there for her so she wouldn't have to keep jumping up and down to eat. And Mittens realized very quickly that birds like to eat the cat food when they thought she was sleeping. So it was like watching the never-ending story with the sphinxes, when like the eyes would start opening and you'd see Mittens like laying there like all like, oh, I'm just sleeping, chilling, and here comes the blue jay, like looking, hopping closer, and Mittens would let him get like one, and then she'd just sit there and pretend to be asleep, and then it would get a little bolder, and then it would call its friends over, and then she'd just jump and catch midair. And it was just like, quick shake of the head, neck was snapped, and she's sitting there with like big blue bunches of feathers in her mouth looking at us like, and we're like, what are you doing? And then she'd run to the back of the house and eat it. But the one night we heard all this yelling and screaming. We're like, what the hell is all that noise? We look out there and there's an entire family of raccoons. So there's like the two parents, and then there's all these little fuzzball baby raccoons running all over the deck, like climbing up the railing to get to the food that's in front of Mittens. And Mittens is just sitting there like, yeah, kind of like swatting at them as they get up to the top of the railing. And we're like, get out of here. We couldn't open up the door because it was like a sliding glass door. They were all like right there. And we're like,
gosh.
if we open up this door, they're going to run in the house. So we like went around to the screen-in porch, through the screen-in porch door, and out the side of the screen-in porch to chase them away so that they wouldn't come in the house.
Oh my gosh. That's funny.
We'd have the weirdest things. Like we had a deer that adopted us. She gave birth to all of her babies in our yard. We had baby bears and mama bears wandering through. They'd try to climb up on the deck when my parents would barbecue. It was like Wild Kingdom up there.
Sounds it.
Yeah, it was fun. It was up in the mountains. So we were pretty isolated.
Nice.
Indeed.
Sounds really good.
Now I've got two boys that like to wrestle in roughhouse, and it's like Wild Kingdom all over again.
Yeah. Behold the wild tie in his natural environment.
Oh my god. When we got all that snow, the two of them went out to go play in the snow. And I specifically told my son, I'm like, you do not have snow pants. Do not lay down in the snow. Do not kneel in the snow. You're going to get soaking wet and you're going to freeze and get hypothermia.
And so then he went outside and proceeded to lays
down in the snow and gets buried by his friends. I'm like, So then, I'm telling my husband, like, don't let him, when you guys are playing, don't go laying in the snow. I literally look, and I'm thinking they're going to play like out in the backyard, where it's safe and there's not a threat of traffic running them over. No, no, no. That's not Darwin enough. I look out here because I hear all this yelling and laughing, and I look out and they are playing on the snowdrift that the plow has pushed up.
Yeah.
And then they're rolling all over that, like halfway into the street. Cars are sliding all over the place. I'm like, oh my God, they're going to get killed. And then they're down at the corner. And I'm on the phone, I think I was on the phone with my dad. And as I'm sitting there, I'm watching my son, and I'm like, he is not going to do what I think he's going to do. Because then it started to melt. So now there's all this like street runoff under a sheet of ice. So he picks up the sheet of ice, breaks it off, proceeds to eat it like a freaking ice pop, and I'm like, yeah! I was like, that's street runoff. I throw open the windows, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, looking the ice, and my dad starts laughing. He's like, that's the best ice. And I'm like, it's yellow snow ice. I was like, it's full of dog shit and dog piss and God knows what else. And I tell my son this, and he goes, so? And keeps eating the ice. And I'm like, I tried. I've
Yeah.
gone as far as I can
You
go.
made the attempt.
I tell my husband, figuring, he's got my back on this one, right? Because that's just disgusting. My dad, he's a grandfather. He thinks it's funny now. Back when it was us, not so funny. But now that it's my kid, it's funny. Nope. I tell my husband. My husband's like, so? And, I'm still on the phone with my dad while all this is going on. And my dad's like, well, how many times did I had to stop your mother from eating freezer ice? I'm like,
What's wrong with what do you mean freezer ice?
Like they have a really old fridge that gets the ice buildup inside. And
Okay.
instead of defrosting it, my mother used to scrape it with a spoon and eat it.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm just like, that has got to be filled with salmonella and all kinds of crazy shit. Like probably diseases and maybe some water bears from like the prehistoric times. I don't know, like how long Freon lasts. But we used to sit there, and she would literally sit there, like, say this is her spoon. She'd sit there and she'd be like, scrape, and that's all you'd hear. And she tried to do it quiet. So it's like, here's this block of ice, and she's basically making shaved ice into a
Hmm.
spoon. And you just hear scrape. And we come running over, and all of a sudden she'd be like, scrape, 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 like faster, like a freaking toddler. And I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like,
Oh
and
my
she couldn't
goodness.
put it in her mouth before we could stop her from eating the freezer ice. And I can't tell you how many
This
times
explains so much.
we all wrestled that woman for her spoon full of freezer ice. And for somebody who was like 4'11", she was strong.
This explains so very much about
She'd
you.
be like, doing like all of this with the freezer ice going everywhere, making water all over the floor. And she's like, no, I lost my freezer ice. And then she'd go in there and start scraping it again before we get back. Yeah, my mom was kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Funny, but crazy. I mean, this is the same woman that, we'd be like in Kmart pushing all the Tickle Me Elmos and watching their lemming-like exodus off the shelves. Just a waterfall of horror.
Nice.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Yep, off the rails again.
Oh yeah,
You
totally.
realize we're still recording, right?
Oh, yeah, I totally forgot about that, actually.
Yeah, as you're just rambling. She does this sometimes.
I'm hopped up on sugar and caffeine now. I cannot be held responsible.
Okay. So we should probably
We
say
should wrap
goodbye.
this up. Yes.
Yeah.
And thanks for watching.
Yeah. If you
Uh,
made it through to the end, we are so proud of you. like and subscribe and comment. Tell us what you think. Tell us about your animal stories and Susie's mom eating the freezer ice, you know.
You have parents that do weird shit.
Tell us,
I'm pretty sure
tell
you
us your
do.
parents' weird habits.
Yeah.
Tell us about your
I
pet
would love
stories.
to know that I'm not alone in
I've never heard of such a thing.
I've never known anybody that ate the freezer ice rather than just defrost it.
Yeah, me either.
You know,
But yeah, so
yeah.
happy friggin' New Year.
Happy 2021, bitches.
Yeah,
We made it.
we made it.
I hope.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. This is
Hopefully.
filmed in the past, so we won't know if
Yeah.
we really made it until after.
Yes. And so when you watch it in the present,
It'll be
or would it be
after
the
20.
future? It'll
Yeah.
be after. Yes. So,
It'll be in the after time.
yes.